everyone, it's Jenny, the garden designer. Here are 5 mistakes I see new gardeners make. And for the record, we all make mistakes, right? I've made tons of them and continue to make new mistakes. So there's no judgment here. Numero uno, frequent shallow watering. So there are always going to be outliers, but generally speaking, your garden beds, your potted plants, they don't need to be watered every day. Going out on a daily basis and just quickly spraying all your plants isn't nearly as effective as deeply watering your plants every few days or once a week. In fact, shallow watering your plants frequently can actually harm them. When you do this, you're training the roots to stay shallow too. They stay further up near the soil line because that's where the water is. When you water deeply, that encourages strong, larger, longer roots, which is healthier for the plants. When the roots stay up towards the top, they're smaller, they're weak. If a storm comes through, they're not really anchored in. And no, you're not going to kill your plants by giving them a good long drink of water. Think about when there's a crazy rainstorm. I mean, plants really like that. Now, you don't want to be doing that every day, but doing that once a week or so, just depending on the type of plant, that's gonna be so much more beneficial than that shallow watering every day. Number 2, spraying and killing every single bug you see in your garden bed. Not all bugs are bad for our plants. In fact, a lot of them are beneficial. They're the good guys. They'll even eat the bad bugs. So when you see an insect, especially one that you don't recognize, do some research first to find out if it's even going to hurt your plants. Once I've done that, let's just say that, I've decided that it's a bad bug, right? I'm not quick to kill it. Because oftentimes nature will just take care of that for me. So the good guys will come in, get rid of it, or birds, they eat insects too. So, and just so you know, I'm talking about the backyard gardener, right? Obviously, people that own plant nurseries and things like that, you don't have as much leeway to, let some of this stuff go, to let some of this stuff fly. But for your backyard gardener, try not to intervene as much. There's this entire system at play. Nature's in its own little groove. And when you come through and spray everything, not only are you killing the bad insects, but you're killing all of the good insects. The beneficial microbes in the soil too are impacted. I mean, there's so much that you are potentially negatively impacting. Now, if you just really have to get rid of an insect and it's really doing some damage to your plants, I mean, we've all been there, I've been there. The first thing I try to do is just remove that plant. If it's isolated, on one specific plant or a branch, just get rid of that branch or that plant. And if it's on a lot of my plants, then I'll spray something that's more natural, like neem oil. Neem oil is really great. Even if you just mix some dish soap with water, I actually even add a little bit of mouthwash, Listerine. I know that sounds weird, but just a little bit of Listerine with some dish soap and water really does a great job. Number 3, not paying attention to your garden. I hear people quite frequently, the plant just died out of nowhere, I don't have a green thumb, everything dies. Plants typically don't die overnight. Usually what has happened is you planted a bunch of, flowers and, shrubs or whatever it may be, right, in your garden beds or in some containers, and it looked beautiful, right? And then you ignored it. And you thought it was just gonna kind of do its thing. And a month goes by and now they're all dead. There's no such thing as a maintenance-free garden. even if it's low maintenance. So just make going out into your garden part of a routine. For me, that's every morning. After I walk my dog, I grab my cup of coffee and I just stroll through my garden beds, take a look at my potted plants, see how everything's doing. You don't have to do it every day. You could do it weekly. But it's a good idea just to kind of check on everything, at least on a weekly basis. That way, if something, if a plant does look a little bit different, or like it's not doing so great, you're able to catch those things ahead of time. Because that's how, like if there's like a pest issue or like a disease issue, if you really start to pay attention, you'll notice that you get little signs early on. So then you can, catch them early and nip it in the bud. And fun fact, this also makes weeding a heck of a lot easier. Instead of letting, just the weeds run rampant, if you make that part of your process, once again, daily or weekly, just going out and kind of pulling the weeds when they're still young, it's much easier to control them, because once those weeds like mature, that's when they start forming seeds and then they just spread like crazy. Number 4, over fertilizing. We're often told, hey, fertilize on a consistent schedule, or, every spring or whatever it may be. So yes, some plants benefit from that. But before you start fertilizing, ask yourself, does my plant actually need it? Like, does it look like it needs fertilizer? If it doesn't look like it needs fertilizer, if it's healthy and happy, you may not need to fertilize it. Number 5, right plant, right place. So a garden bed that receives western exposure, that's a ton of sun. So the type of plants that you put there, totally different than a garden bed that has northern exposure, which is a ton of shade, or a bed that is, covered with a really big or dense canopy of trees. Also, does the soil stay pretty wet? Does it stay dry? Is there like a low spot in your garden where it does tend to collect more water? Here's the bonus tip for you guys. Let go. Nature isn't perfect. I think sometimes we strive for like this image that we see like on Instagram. Truth be told, that's not reality, unless you're going to like a flower and garden show where they're, making sure everything is pristine for a week and swapping things out. But in our backyards, that's not natural. Things are blooming while other things are dying. Appreciate your garden in every season, literally and figuratively. If you want a plant with pristine leaves that never brown, fronds that never drop off and die, you should just go for silk plants, honestly, because that's not nature. But to me, that's what makes nature so beautiful, and what makes you appreciate, when that fresh frond does unfurl and you see that, new growth, or that, first bloom. So you gotta take the good with the bad. To me, the bad is just as good. It's beautiful in its own way. All right, you guys, thanks so much for watching. That's all we have for you today. So until next time, here's your reminder to create the world you want to live in.